I am exasperated, and I will tell you exactly what, with it's probably going to be offensive. We'll talk about that. Sara Gonzales is here. Senator Eric Schmitt is here. We are so jam-packed tonight on I'm Right. I'm exasperated. We're going to have a talk. Just you and me, we're going to have a talk here. First, let's address something that Trump put up today. This is the second time he's said something like this when it comes to the FBI. Trump went on social media and he said this. I'll just read him. This is verbatim, direct quote. The new FBI building should be built in Washington, D.C., not Maryland, and be the centerpiece of my plan to totally renovate and rebuild our capital city into the most beautiful and safest city anywhere in the world. The FBI must be in walking distance to the DOJ building, in that the DOJ and FBI have to work closely together. A 2-minute walk to a meeting is far better than a traffic-laden 2-hour drive to Greenbelt, Maryland. Likewise, having the FBI in D.C. is important for ending the violent crime, which I will do quickly. Okay. I'll tell you what, we'll come back to that. We'll come back to that. I just want to go over a couple quick things. First of all, you know that Stalin didn't kill a single person after he took power? I mean, physically, him pulling the trigger. Not one. Do you know that? Not a single record of that. His secret state police did. Mao didn't lift a finger after he took power. Didn't lift a finger. But he had men who would do that for him. They went and massacred all kinds of people for him. Let's talk a little bit about the FBI, shall we? Let's talk about the FBI that raided Donald Trump's home. And so hold on, I want to make sure I have all this right, because we have Julie Kelly coming on to talk about this in a little bit. Yesterday, 24 hours ago, we found out that the Federal Bureau of Investigation, after they raided Trump's home, they staged pictures, those pictures you saw online of the classified documents, that was all staged, and the whole classified thing, Julie will cover it later, but yeah, they made those pages. And then they published it online. They ran an op. The FBI ran an information op on Donald Trump. The FBI, the Federal Bureau of Investigation. The Federal Bureau of Investigation, since January 6th, has already hunted down more than 1,000 of Donald Trump's strongest supporters. 99.9% of these people are nonviolent, first-time offenders who've had their lives ruined. Christopher Wray has discussed the fact that they've been hunting down Trump's own supporters. As recently as 2 weeks ago, he went on NBC and bragged about it.
Let me ask you about January 6th. Are you still pursuing January 6 cases?
We have any number of January 6 cases underway.
Former President Trump has referred to those who have been in prison or are facing trial as hostages. Do you see those individuals who took part in the January 6 riots as hostages?
I see the defendants in the January 6 cases as criminal defendants who are being charged with federal crimes and are in front of independent courts as part of our legal system.
Yeah. The FBI has been sending SWAT teams to the homes. Do you remember what they did to Mark Houck? You know what, let's talk about something specific. Do you remember Mark Houck? He was a sidewalk preacher, a pro-life advocate. He got in a little tussle with some kind of abortion-loving demon, and he didn't do anything wrong, so local law enforcement completely blew the charge off. And then they decided they were going to charge him, Biden's DOJ, they were going to charge him with the FACE Act. And Houck is a very peaceful, kind man, family man, wife, several kids. Had his lawyer reach out to the FBI and he said, hey, if there's a problem, if I'm going to be arrested or whatever, let me know. I will come turn myself in. Good law enforcement agencies love that because it's nonviolent and there's no chance for violence. You love it when somebody comes in on his own peacefully, hey, put the cuffs on me, take the mugshot, turn myself in. The FBI actually told Mark Houck, no, don't turn yourself in. They then sent a SWAT team to his home and stuck long guns in the face of him, his wife, and his children. The Federal Bureau of Investigation just did that. Do I need to remind you that the Federal Bureau of Investigation decided to wage war on all these angry parents showing up at school board meetings? The moms and dads, they would show up at these school board meetings and they were upset. They didn't want Junior to learn to hate white people and they didn't want him to learn to be a tranny. And they showed up and they let their voices be heard. And the Federal Bureau of Investigation met to decide which counterterrorism designation they should put on angry school board moms.
Mr. Friend, you ever been to a school board meeting?
Yes, I have.
FBI ever sent you to the parking lot of a school board meeting?
Yes, they have.
And in the parking lot of a school board meeting where the FBI sent you, you were taking down information regarding people's license plates.
That's correct.
Now, it wasn't the first time you'd been to a school board meeting, was it?
No, I went on my own as a private citizen.
As a parent.
Yes.
And so there you were. It must have been quite an interesting perspective. There you were taking down the information of people, parents attending school board meetings on behest of the FBI, and you had been one of those parents at a school board meeting. How did that feel?
Well, after I attended privately, my colleagues teased me that they were probably going to start investigating me.
Yeah. Do you remember the 2020 election? And, you know, we love to say things like it was stolen, rigged, whatever, but there are a lot of different interpretations of that. But there is one way that the 2020 election was very much rigged in the favor of Joe Biden. You don't have to believe in hacked voting machines or something like that to know what we now know. You see, the Federal Bureau of Investigation, they had a laptop turned into them. It was legally turned into them by a computer repairman. He found many felonies committed by Hunter Biden on this laptop. The FBI viewed the laptop, knew about the felonies, and then promptly hid the laptop from public view. They wouldn't investigate it, trying to protect Joe Biden. And then the FBI, because of wiretaps, found out that the New York Post was getting ready to run a story talking about the contents of that laptop. And this is in the lead up to the 2020 election, the election Joe Biden eventually won. The Federal Bureau of Investigation got panicked that it might hurt Joe Biden's election chances. And so they ran to meet with Facebook, informing social media companies that the very much true story, and they knew it was true at the time, remember they had the laptop, the true story that was coming out, they told these Facebook, Twitter companies, they told them that it was Russian disinformation and told them to censor it. Remember when Mark Zuckerberg came out and admitted it?
The FBI, I think, basically came to us, some folks on our team, and was like, hey, just so you know, like, you should be on high alert. We thought that there was a lot of Russian propaganda in the 2016 election. We have it on notice that basically there's about to be some kind of dump of that's similar to that. So just be vigilant.
The FBI the special agent who did that, his name is Elvis Chan. He actually went on camera multiple times afterwards, and he bragged about it.
I was very involved. Our field office, FBI San Francisco, was very involved in helping to protect the U.S. elections in 2020. And I think we can all agree, or I think many of us can agree, that it was a very safe election. We talked with all of these entities I mentioned regularly, at least on a monthly basis, and right before the election, probably on a weekly basis, right? If they were seeing anything unusual, if we were seeing anything unusual, sharing intelligence with technology companies, with social media companies, so that they could protect their own platforms, right?
The new FBI building should be built in Washington, D.C., not Maryland, and be the centerpiece. He wants it to be the centerpiece of my plan to totally renovate and rebuild our capital city. It is the most beautiful, safest in the world. The FBI must be in walking distance to the DOJ. All this was coordinated with the FBI and DOJ. Trump wants them closer together. This is unacceptable. I don't give a crap how offended you are right now. I don't give a crap if this upsets you. This is ridiculous. It's unacceptable, and it's naive to the point of being childlike. This is not draining the swamp. This is ensuring more mud, more muck, more filth comes into the swamp. And I don't know what kind of crap is going on over there in the Trump campaign, but you can count me out if this is what I get. If I get more abortion, more vaccine salesmen, new FBI building, then tell me why I should give a crap who wins this November. What do I get? Do I get savings, money savings, spending savings? Not a dime. He spent more than Obama. What do I get? Nothing is what I get. I'm so sick of this crap, and I'm sick of people who won't wake up and start pushing back against him on this stuff from his own team. His own team better get Trump in line, and Trump himself better get himself in line. I cannot take this naivete of him trying to be liked by the mortal enemies that are destroying the United States of America. We will not have a United States of America 50 years from now unless the FBI is completely abolished or in the very least brought to heel. We cannot afford 4 years of Trump sucking up to him. How about a new building, guys? Sucking up to the media, trying to be liked by everybody who hates you and hates me and hates the country. And I won't abide by it. And if you want that, if you want Trump pom-poms every single night, you have tuned into the wrong freaking show. Change the channel. I am sick about what's happening in my country right now, and I demand a fighter. I demand somebody who's going to go do something about it. I can't take these lame boomer takes. The FBI, oh, freaking gag me. Gosh. All that may have made you uncomfortable, but I am right. Jeez. Speaking of this and many other things, we'll get to it in a minute. God. Waiting for them to sell me a timeshare. Oh, you've heard about the timeshare companies. Bunch of rip-off artists. All of them. Well, not all of them, most of them. I'm all fired up. They lock you into these freaking stupid timeshares, and then they don't let you out. They never let you out of them, ever. They just tell you, oh, no, sorry, you signed the contract, you're locked in for life, pay your annual fees forever. And they double the annual fees, and they put the special assessments on you and all this other crap. Call Lone Star Transfer and get out of that timeshare. Save some money. Now's the time to save money. Call Lone Star Transfer and let them set you free. Family business. A+ rating from the Better Business Bureau. 844-310-2646. Give them a call, all right? We'll be back.
About 1% of the records the FBI stole have some sort of classification markings on them. You know, the ones we saw laid out on the floor that the FBI took a picture of, included in a court filing. 99% are photographs, what they call U.S. government records, but not classified. That's what the subpoena identified or specified that the investigators could take. They took clothing items, they took books, they took his medical records, they took accounting information. This was nothing more than the pillage of Donald Trump's home to try to find incriminating or embarrassing evidence that these investigators in DOJ could then leak to the media, which of course they've been doing for years, but now have done numerous times related to this raid.
That's what Julie Kelly said a long time ago here on the show. Man, I bet she feels dumb now. Joining me now, Julie Kelly. You need to subscribe to her Substack called Declassified. Man, Julie, I bet you're looking back on all that stuff and feeling pretty foolish right about now.
You know, what is it about our last name, Jesse, that just makes us perpetually right? I mean, it's a burden. People don't understand. It's a burden that we bear, but we do it for the people. We really do.
We do. We do it for the people. All right, Julie, in all seriousness, what is the update on this photo? I credited you. I talked about this a little bit last night on my radio show, but I wanted it to come from your mouth. What happened with this photo? We all saw the photo. The documents were on the ground, and they even said classified. My goodness, Julie, I was rattled.
So scary. Everyone was terrified. I mean, Donald Trump almost blew up the world with those scary cover sheets. Well, what we just found out, Jesse, last week, thank you to actually a motion by Jack Schmitt, is that the FBI brought those cover sheets to the raid at Mar-a-Lago. Now, what we were told now is that those cover sheets, the scary red ones, nuclear secrets, that they were used as placeholders in the boxes where all these papers were. So if an agent saw classified markings on a document, they took that out, put this placeholder cover sheet in, and then took this super duper secret document and put it, somewhere in storage underneath the ground. Well, that's not the only way they use those cover sheets. They used them as props. They attached them to unknown files underneath. They took that picture and then they attached it, as I explained, back in August of 2022, to an exhibit in Donald Trump's special master lawsuit. Well, that went viral, but it was a stunt, Jesse, right? This is how they tried to make the American people, and even Judge Cannon, believe that that is the condition in which these documents were found. Not true at all. They brought their little props with them, paperclipped them, took a picture, and misled basically everyone into believing that's how they were kept in those boxes.
Yeah, it is wild how evil this organization has become. And all this stuff comes on the heels of some other reporting you did, Julie, about the coordination with the White House and all this. That's not something that should happen. They've claimed over and over again they don't know anything about it. What happened?
Yes, exactly right. So I've reported on this. I know you and I have spoken about this. In January, the defense attorneys filed this huge motion claiming really collusion between the Biden White House, the National Archives, the entire Department of Justice, including top officials like the Deputy Attorney General Lisa Monaco and her staff, the FBI, the Secret Service. So they came out with this huge, what they called scope of the prosecution team. But then they had all these attachments, emails and communications back and forth, dating back to May of 2021 between the archives, the DOJ, and the Biden White House, including General Counsel Dana Remus and Deputy General Counsel Jonathan Sue. So we have all this evidence now. Now, Jack Schmitt has come back, of course, and said, no, the prosecution only involves me and this guy Jay and this guy David and a couple FBI agents out of Washington and a few out of Miami. That's it. Judge Cannon now has just said, no. What we're going to do at the end of June is spend 3 days, Jesse. This is key, aside from the May 20th trial date being officially vacated. The end of June, 3 days in her courthouse, where the defense will present evidence to show this behind-the-scenes collusion between all of these agencies, including the Biden White House, to concoct this documents case, really entrap Donald Trump and his team, which is what they did. And we're going to get a full vetting of all of that evidence and have to hear Jack Schmitt's team argue against it and explain that all of this evidence, no, look away. That's not what this shows.
Yeah. All right, Julie, let's switch gears here. There's another heartbreaking story about January 6th political prisoners. What is it now?
So, Jesse, I know how much you care about this issue. We've talked about this. News breaking today, I have the police report, unfortunately. Another January 6th defendant, a man named David Hommel, committed suicide, shot himself in the head on April 17th. He had been arrested in January by the FBI, charged with multiple offenses for January 6th, including civil disorder, I think assault, interfering with police, and various misdemeanors. So once again, Jesse, an innocent American who did nothing wrong but protest now 3.5 years ago, choosing to end his life, destroy his family in the process, rather than endure the torment and torture inflicted by this FBI Department of Justice, and particularly DC U.S. Attorney Matthew Graves.
And Julie, I have to ask, I have to bring it up because I just went off about it. I wake up today and I see a post from Donald Trump about building the FBI, a new building. Nobody's been dumped on more than Donald Trump and his supporters by this organization. And Julie, I am so angry and exasperated by this point in time. How could he not get it by now? What? He of all people should get it the most. They're crapping all over him.
The J. Edgar Hoover building, downtown Washington, should be razed to the ground and never rebuilt in any capacity. I don't understand if he thinks he's being clever or funny with that. It's not funny. You know, no, they don't need a new building. We don't need to rebuild the FBI. It needs to be shut down. Top officials need to be investigated, as well as field agents who are conducting these armed raids against American citizens and violating their constitutional rights in the process. No, I share your frustration and your rage, Jesse. I don't understand that line of thinking or posting something like that. I don't get it.
I don't get it either. But I do get you, Julie. Every time, you are the best. Honestly, I love you. Come back soon. All right. We don't have very many good senators. That's terrible. But we do have one. Well, we have like 5. He's going to join us. Before we get to him, let's talk about why I'm so full of pep lately. You've probably noticed. I can't help it. I've just been sleeping so good. And I'm not used to sleeping anymore. As you get older, you have to wake up in the middle of the night, shoulder hurts, you roll over. This dream powder from Beam, I don't even roll over. I'll wake up and just the side of my face has just got pillow marks all over it because I didn't move for 9 hours. This stuff, you're not groggy the next day because it's not a bunch of pharma filth. It's all just natural stuff from Beam. You pour it in, I use a little warm glass of milk, just a little coffee cup version of milk. Pour some of the cinnamon cocoa powder in there. It just tastes like hot chocolate. You'd never know. And you just pass out. And then you wake up not groggy. I always wake up groggy and miserable. I can't seem to shake the fog out of my head if I take something to sleep. Not with this stuff, man. Go get some dream powder. 40% off right now. 40% off. I freaking love this stuff. Shopbeam.com/Jesse Kelly. All right? We'll be back.
I think the world's most deliberative body has been reduced to kabuki theater. There's no uncertainty ever. The only time you get to offer an amendment in this place is if it's sure to fail. Think about that. Senator Schumer won't allow United States senators to offer ideas unless he knows they will fail. And how about instead of every hour, maybe you show up, or what if we sat in our seats and actually voted on this stuff for 4 or 5 hours? We could get through a lot, but the senator from New York is allergic to work. The Senate is broken.
That's not a very sunny view of what goes on in the Senate, but it is inspiring that we do have a few GOP senators that are worth something. One of the best is Senator Eric Schmitt out of the state of Missouri. I still don't understand why Missouri produces like these hardcore anti-communist types. What's going on in Texas? Hey, Senator, I would not have pictured Missouri 5-10 years ago to produce people like you. And yet you're not the only one there. There's like a bunch. Your New Agey's a stud too. What are you guys doing up there?
It's the show me state, brother. It's in our DNA. So I don't know how you describe it, but it's always been I think the DNA of Missourians to sort of be skeptical of a federal government 1,000 miles away telling us how to live our lives. So I take that with a badge of honor.
Yeah, a healthy dose of skepticism for these people is warranted. Okay, Senator, first, for stupid people like me, explain what you're talking about with the amendment process and the law. That was obviously a speech you were giving in reference to the big foreign aid money laundering scheme that we just passed, of course, in this country like we always do. But what are you talking about, amendments and they don't allow? What's going on?
Yeah, so I think it's, I was elected in 2022. I was AG before. So you come here and the Senate's supposed to have this reputation as you have free and open debate. There's only 100 senators. You advocate for your position. Maybe there's some unique coalition that's formed on some idea that you've got. It's not how it works at all. Chuck Schumer has, essentially put a stranglehold on the process. And what do I mean by that? Well, the reason, there are no individual appropriations bills, Jesse. We've got to get back to a place where there's 12 of them. Senators have an opportunity to amend it. It goes to the House. There's some conference committee. You work it out, whatever. We don't do any of that. Instead, because of the allure of the power that comes with it, and a couple people in leadership, what they do is they wait till a deadline. They don't allow input. They come down from on high and unveil some omnibus monstrosity at 10 minutes to midnight and say, read this or don't read it. And if you don't support it, you support a government shutdown or some other nonsense, right? It's really a terrible way to do this. And it really boxes out 96 or 97 other voices along the way. And so I've been an advocate for reform. Let's open it up, even if it's, what people consider tough votes. That's what we get paid for, right? We get paid here. We get sent here to come here and advocate, and people can judge us by our records. But a lot of people are afraid, I think, of taking these tough votes. Chuck Schumer wants to control the agenda exclusively, and he's getting away with it. And so I felt compelled to go on the floor and call it out.
I'm really sad to say none of that is surprising at all. Senator, from afar, from the outside looking in, our debt crisis is coming. Everyone knows. I mean, it's already here. Grocery prices are up 40%. They're not going back down. Everyone knows that. No one's even pretending they're going back down. We're watching our way of life disappear, and these scumbags you work with in D.C. just appear to be, clearing out the vault on their way out? That's what it looks like. We're just looting the treasury now? That's all we do?
Well, it's a complete disconnect, Jesse, from real America. That's just sort of been my experience. The priorities here in Washington are not connected to what real Americans face every single day, right? The reason, inflation isn't some natural disaster, right? There's a formula for it. It turns out if you spend trillions and trillions of dollars you don't have, and you declare war on domestic energy production, the cost of everything goes up. And people feel it every time they're at the grocery store. So when Joe Biden goes on the campaign trail and talks about this ridiculous Bidenomics, it's not selling. When we come up here and you want to send, $180 billion to secure Ukraine's border when we haven't done anything to secure our own border, it's just a complete disconnect. And so I think you got to come to this place, to tell it like it is, have a real dose of reality and fight for reform, because we need it, Jesse, as a country. I think the people that get it understand the place that we're at. The left is playing for keeps. They want to censor Americans. I mean, talk about the real threats to democracy. They're trying to imprison their political opponent. If this were happening in any other part of the world, our State Department will be warning people. But, again, it doesn't get the attention it deserves on the Senate floor where we actually do legislating. We don't do any of those things. Instead, we wait till deadlines, and then people get presented these omnibus bills, which are a disaster.
Senator, is there any appetite, or is there getting to be an appetite to change GOP leadership? And I don't mean swapping out Mitch McConnell for some elephant turd like John Cornyn or John Thune. I mean, really getting rid of these old types who ruin us and replacing them with people who believe in freedom and believe in sound money, believe the things you believe. I mean, it's one thing to dump Mitch McConnell. What do I get when we dump McConnell and bring me John Cornyn? I get the same loser I had there before. Is there any appetite to change this? Can we change it?
Well, look, I think one of the problems, I think too many people look to Washington, D.C. for all the answers, right? The truth is, right, the real Americans in real America understand that that's got to come from their families and their community. I say that not to pass the buck in any way, because you're right.
No.
We need to have a leadership in Washington that understands what the American people are going through, that is connected. I grew up in a working class family, so trust me, I understand what people are struggling with right now, why they want Washington to respond to that. But I think that as conservatives, understanding that Washington, D.C. doesn't have the answers for a lot of the big issues. These are big cultural issues in many ways that you talk a lot about on your show. And so, but as relates to Senate leadership, we're going to have a unique opportunity now. It doesn't come along very often to have a new leader. And so I think we're going to take the Senate back. I think the map works really well for us. Hopefully the House holds it, and hopefully Donald Trump becomes president. And then we got to do something with it, right? I think people get tired of all these promises on the campaign trail, and people come to Washington, they're just a rubber stamp for business as usual. It's certainly not why I ran. It's not how I want to conduct myself. So there's going to be a lot of tough conversations, I think, and making sure our agenda lines up with where the people are at. And I think with a lot of frustration people feel, at least back home in Missouri, and I'm sure it's true in a lot of other places, is that, hey, look, we send people there, but it doesn't feel like anything changes in our lives, right? And I think part of that too is the growth of the administrative state. We've got to fundamentally dismantle the administrative state so that these faceless bureaucrats and agencies people have never heard of stop making decisions that affect people's lives and their freedoms.
How do we do that? I mean, we can make this about the FBI, but it could be about any of them, IRS, CIA, NSA. These organizations have never been brought to heel in my 42 years on this planet. And if we don't bring them to heel now, they're going to end this country. I really believe that, Senator. They have the ability to end this country. But Congress, you guys are the only one who can do it. If there's no appetite to defund them or whatnot, then what? We're just screwed and I have to bank on my county sheriff fighting the FBI?
Yeah, no, you're right. Listen, the way that we have to approach this from the Article 1 branch has to reassert itself and take control and again dismantle this behemoth that's been created over the years. You know, when I was Attorney General, we brought the Missouri versus Biden lawsuit. I think that was a big important step. The Supreme Court's going to rule on that vast censorship enterprise that was created by the Biden administration to silence dissent. Hopefully they rule the right way, but no matter what, it's exposed, I think, again, an Orwellian scheme to crush dissent in this country. We can't allow it. But to answer your question, how do we go about it? Well, there's two things that are happening. There is a case in front of the Supreme Court. Again, I don't want to get too nerdy on this, but the Chevron deference is this decades-old precedent that essentially allows these agencies deference and the courts yield to their quote-unquote expertise. And I think we've seen how flawed the quote-unquote experts really are. But if they overturn that, it provides an opening and a real opportunity. And also, something I've advocated for is for every new regulation that these bureaucrats want to issue, they need pullback 3 in something called the REINS Act, where if they've got a new rule or regulation, Jesse, that has an economic impact of pick your number, mine would be extremely low, but you could have a debate about that Congress would actually have to vote on it. Right? Judge us by our votes. So if you want to ban gas stoves, agency we've never heard of, that's your proposed rule. It goes to Congress and we vote that yes, up or down. And I think that would get rid of most of this nonsense. It would also expose the people who are totally fine with what we've seen, with the Ministry of State and the abuses.
Yeah, I like it. Senator, appreciate you very much. I hope you're there for a while, sir. Appreciate it. One of the good ones. We don't have many of them. We got like 5. He's one of the good ones. I'm glad he's there. All right. Let me ask you something. We're going to get with Sara Gonzales in just a moment and talk about schools, culture stuff, illegal immigration stuff. Let me ask you, what kind of coffee do you drink? I don't care. You don't have to tell me what brand, but let me ask you this. Does your coffee company, do they make things like that say things like that? Blackout Coffee does. Blackout Coffee doesn't hide from our values, your values, my values. Blackout Coffee advertises them loudly and proudly. We live in a time now where good people are quiet. They're scared and they're quiet and their heads are down, just trying to get by. But we can't be quiet. We have to be loud about what we believe. We have to be, aggressive about what we believe. And that includes our coffee companies. All of our companies we patronize. Blackout Coffee, I love them, not just because their coffee is amazing, because they deliver it to me. I love them because they share my values. Go to blackoutcoffee.com/Jesse. That gets you 20% off your first order. Go get some coffee in a mug or two. We'll be back.
Can you imagine a kid 2 years old saying, "Mom, don't take me across Rio Grande, it's against the law"? Give me a break. These have been model citizens.
Model citizens. Swimming across the river to break in somebody's country. Model citizens. Joining me now, Sara Gonzales, host of Unfiltered on Blaze TV. Sara, please tell me more about these model citizens we've been welcoming into our country by the million.
Yeah, it's interesting because they are not models nor citizens. So I'm not sure how we get to the conclusion model citizens. But, we see this happen all the time. The Biden administration just recently released a memo saying that they wanted to start using the word newcomers in reference to these illegal aliens. So, of course, they're trying to paint the picture that they're just some newcomers just crossing over the Rio Grande to come and search for a better life. Meanwhile, we're seeing the actual ramifications of these, quote, quote model citizens who are coming over here. And a result of that is, of course, more violence. We have, Laken Riley's murderer was just actually indicted today. We have more sex crimes going on. We have more human trafficking going on. I mean, we are seeing the devastating effects of these model citizens. So regardless of what Joe Biden wants to call them, it doesn't change the ramifications that everyday Americans are seeing day in and day out. It is devastating to this country.
Sara, you have a 20-minute episode. Well, you just released a 20-minute episode of your show talking about something that's been fascinating to me, the Biden administration and how these people are getting around the country. They're showing up everywhere. I get all these emails. I know you get them too. I'm in a tiny town in Arkansas. We just had 10,000 of these people show up. Where'd they come from? What'd you talk about?
Yeah, it's just how cunning and deceptive the Biden administration has been with the topic of illegal immigration has just been incredible to me. So what they're doing is they see that the optics at the southern border are bad. And so instead of continuing to bring all these people to the southern border, which, by the way, they're still doing, but they see that the optics are bad and they want to reduce some of those people. So what they're doing is they are flying in people from Cuba, Haiti, Nicaragua, and Venezuela in a program that they are funding. They're flying these people in. It's a refugee program. And so they sign up to be a part of it. They can come through, and instead of going through the southern border, they fly all the way in. These are inadmissible aliens that should not be here. And there are over 400,000 of them, Jesse, that have already come in just since 2023 by flight. So they're flying them into a city near you. And that is why we are seeing, of course, all of these illegal aliens move into the interiors of the country. It's all by design. And that's what I think people need to understand. This is all part of the plan. This is all by design. Joe Biden, well, not that Joe Biden knows anything, but Joe Biden's administration knows the kind of chaos that this is creating. It's part of the plan.
Yeah, and every part of it works out for them. They may even end up voting, if you will. After all, Joe Biden had a slip of the tongue the other day.
It's a little bit like back in the 1840s when the Great Exodus from Ireland because of the famine and the way Irish Catholics are treated. We said, no, we don't need any more of those folks. There's a large influx. There's even a bigger influx now in terms of Hispanic voters.
I know that sounds like it was recorded in a microwave during a nuclear blast, but he referred to these people as voters, Sara.
Well, I mean, again, you're totally correct, Jesse. That is part of the plan. If you don't believe me, look at the lawsuits that have been filed in places like Washington, D.C., in places like New York, where the issue at hand is whether or not non-citizens should be allowed to vote in local elections. If you don't think that this is coming federally, you're crazy. Washington, D.C., San Francisco, and New York City have already allowed non-citizens to vote in their local elections. And by the way, that's not the only way that they're trying to rig the system, because they're allowing all of these illegal immigrants to come into these sanctuary cities. And then what happens the next time a census rolls around? Well, all of those sanctuary cities that are all leftist cities, are going to receive more representation in Congress to allow them to game the system that way. So they're trying to game the system against us in two separate ways. And what are the Republicans doing about it? Absolutely nothing.
Sara, there's been a lot of talk about how all this illegal immigration stuff is pushing the Latino community towards Republicans. I don't know how much of that I buy. I can see it in places like Texas, where the Latinos tend to be more to the right than other parts of the country, but it is their neighborhoods being wrecked. How much of a swing do you think this is going to be?
Well, look, if it was just the illegal immigration problem, I wouldn't say that there would be much of a swing. The issue that Joe Biden has is not only does he have the issue of illegal immigration, and all of these minority communities are seeing illegals get prioritized in front of them. I mean, you see it in, Chicago city council meetings. You have all of these minorities who are showing up and saying, you guys have to stop this. Our kids can't go to school because you're housing people who aren't even supposed to be here. It would be one thing if that was the only thing that Joe Biden had against him. The fact of the matter is, not only does he have the illegal immigrant topic against him, but Hispanics are also feeling the ramifications of the Biden administration. They can't afford their groceries. They can't afford to fill up their car. They can't afford to live. And they see, I mean, we have all Americans who are seeing the real-time difference between Donald Trump's presidency and Joe Biden's. And that's what I think is going to be the ultimate push to see more Hispanics voting for Donald Trump.
Sara, let's talk about the cultural issues for a moment, shall we? You're all over this. You've been talking about what's going on in schools and school boards and this drag show crap. And then I saw this story today out of Coeur d'Alene, Idaho. And golly, here's this mother.
First thing she did was come home and want to cut her hair. And not too long after that, I was called into the school to attend a meeting with the assistant principal, teachers, and her counselor. And I was asked to sign a paper to allow my child to change her name and be using different pronouns. And I said, absolutely not. I stood up, absolutely not. And my child became very angry at me in the room. But she had all the support of her teachers and the staff there, volunteers, everybody in the school district there in that school. I became her enemy at that point.
And you said she wanted to be referred to as a boy named Felix?
Felix the cat. Everything that she was believing, they affirmed it. And the first thing I noticed when I walked in there, all the gay, lesbian flags hanging up everywhere, you know? So the influence was there. I just wasn't paying attention to it then. And I trusted the facility to help her in her studies.
Sara, why does this keep happening in red areas? Idaho's red, very red.
Because that's part of the plan, of course. They are shifting to all of these red areas. Idaho is very red. It's happening in Wyoming, which is supposed to be very red. It happens right down the street from me, which is also supposed to be very red, where I grew up, where I went to school. And now they're providing pornographic literature for children in school libraries, for young children. So this is all by design because these Marxist communists go into the education system. I mean, you know this, Jesse. I'm preaching to the choir. They go into the education system. They get a degree. They come out ready and willing and waiting and foaming at the mouth to indoctrinate our children into this radical ideology. It's disgusting.
It's freaking gross. Sara, you are the best. Come back soon.
Thank
all
you.
right. We have lighten the mood, one that'll put a smile on your face. I need that now. It's been a lot, right? It's been heavy. I got to get my blood pressure down. So lighten the mood will get your blood pressure down. Next. All right. It is time to lighten the mood. And there is obviously no short of ugliness out there in the world. We talk about it often. You talk about it. And that's fine. We have to know what bad is going on, but there's also a lot of good going on. A guy, special needs guy, calls the police in Boston. And what's he want? He's not in trouble. It's his birthday. It's just wants someone to tell him happy birthday. And here's how it went.
What's up, pal? How are you? What's your name?
Chris.
Chris? I'm Frank.
Nice to meet you.
Israel. How old are you today? It's your birthday?
25.
Is it your birthday?
Yes, sir.
You're not just making that up. Let me see. Can we come inside with you?
Yeah, come in the quarter.
Yeah, can we come in the quarter? We're not gonna wake your neighbors, are we? All right, man, Chris.
Oh my God.
Hey, we're happy that you're 25. That's a big number. There you go. Ready? Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, dear Chris. Happy birthday to you. There you go, brother. You want to blow them out? Make a wish. There you go.
You got it, boss.
Hey, we wish you the best birthday, okay?
All right.
You gonna
Thank
be all right?
you so much.
You gonna be all right? You good?
Yeah,
Sure?
great.
You need anything else?
Nothing.
All right. This is a boy that can ask for. All right. Don't eat it all in one sitting. All right. Take it easy, brother. God bless you.
I'll see you tomorrow.